Hello everyone. I know it's been a few weeks since I've been on here, but I'm hoping to be more consistent with posting regularly, especially now that I've had some new insights this past week, some things that have really changed how I see myself, and it really was a light bulb moment for me. Part of that is me filming this video right now. So I apologize, it may be a little bit of a bumpy ride, but I will explain a little bit later as we get into kind of this insight, this light bulb moment that I really wanted to share with you today. I do have my notes in front of me, otherwise it'll be like Alice in Wonderland chasing white rabbits all day. So if you see me looking over, I'm just keeping myself on track. So this concept that I heard the other day, I kind of wanted to start with how it came about rather than going straight for it, because it really is a prime example of what we're going to be talking about. So the other day, I needed to renew my car tags, and this is the first time that I've ever done that by myself. And I've worked in insurance, so I know like it can kind of be a hassle sometimes, and I really didn't want to have to go to the DMV. I'd kind of used all of my PTO for some complications from a medical procedure, so I really didn't want to have to miss like half a day of pay just to go spend money on renewing my car tags. So I wanted to do it online, and I got everything pulled up, and then sorry, I'm just reliving it right now. I got everything pulled up online. I got to the payment screen, I was ready to go, and then I saw the address they were getting ready to send my tags to, and it was an address from like 2 years ago. And I went to change the address, and it was like, you have to contact the county clerk to change your address. Well, immediately that was like, are you kidding me? Like, why doesn't anything work? Like, why can't it just be simple? And I went and was venting to my coworker, just kind of this really, looking back, this really dramatic why me spiral. And I've gotten a lot better at it, but when I have those spirals, they're fast. Like, there's no saving. That plane is crash landing immediately. So I kind of went and complained to her for a little bit, and then I walked back to my desk, and I was like, ugh. So I did what it told me to do. I contacted the county clerk. I found the branch that would be closest to me if I had to go in, and I called them, and I was very matter of fact, very direct. I was like, hey, like, I need to change my address. Where do I need to send the documents to? Because again, I did not want to have to go into the DMV. And the guy did it right there over the phone. Didn't ask for any proof, didn't ask me to send anything. I didn't have to, like, he just did it. And it was done. And I refreshed the screen, it's right there. I made the payment, tags are renewed, they're coming in the mail. And I just, like, okay. And I went back to that same coworker, and I was like, you're not gonna believe this. Like, it was so easy. And I was like, I'm gonna bring that up when I see my therapist with that pattern. She was like, what do you mean? And I just kind of used that old saying, like, oh, like, making mountains out of molehills. And her response was, oh yeah, anxiety does that. And that just, I know that's true. I'm not discrediting that at all, but it felt wrong for me. I've never considered myself an anxious person. Yes, I have experienced anxiety. I don't know anybody my age who hasn't experienced it once in their life. But, I kind of felt like, if anything, I kind of skipped that anxious phase. I kind of go straight to shutting down. So I knew when she said, like, yeah, anxiety does that, I knew that wasn't the answer for what was happening for me. But I didn't know what. So I definitely planned to bring that up. And then the next day, I'm going for a walk and I'm listening to this neuroscience podcast. And there was, I don't remember the exact sentence that she used, but it was like the perfect answer that I was looking for. You know, like, I wasn't experiencing anxiety. My brain was doing this process called effort discounting. And what that is, because, you know, I heard it made so much sense, but I wanted to learn a little bit more before I just started talking about it. What that is in behavioral neuroscience, effort discounting is when your brain reduces the perceived value of an outcome if it expects it to be a lot of effort. So, you know, if you're, for example, like the healthy food, if you're like going to cook it and it's like, I've got to wash everything, I've got to chop everything, I've got to preheat the oven, I've got to marinate there's just so many steps sometimes. And, you know, your brain's like, why do all that? And so that's kind of where it really comes in, is when the payoff to your mind is unclear or risky or even, you know, delayed. Then your brain will downplay the value of that action and inflate the effort. So it seems so much harder, so much more work, and it's just not really worth it. So that was like, oh, like, that's why I do this thing. That's why sometimes things feel so much harder than they are, or so much harder than they are at other times for me. And I was like, okay, that makes sense, but why? I was a why kid, so I always want to know why. And so I kind of was digging into it a bit more to learn, you know, what use is this, feeling like everything's so much harder than it is, because it just makes life feel harder than it is. And what I discovered was that, you know, using energy is biologically expensive. So your brain actually is the most energy expensive organ in your body. It uses most of your energy. So it doesn't want to waste it. And it sees wasted effort as a risk and unnecessary. I'm getting ahead of myself. It sees unnecessary energy use as a threat to your survival, because we're using all this energy and now we don't have any energy to run away from the tiger or, you know, fight for our life. Not that you're in those situations, but that's how your mind, your brain sees it still. So, you know, it's kind of constantly asking, is this worth it, before we spend energy on that? And, you know, kind of going along with that, like, your brain is predicting the effort before you start. Whether you're aware of it or not, your brain is wondering, okay, how much energy is this going to cost me? Like, how much effort am I going to have to put into this? And it uses that. It doesn't wait for reality. It doesn't, you know, see like, oh, it's just a few steps, might take me 30 minutes. Like, all I've got to do is put on the running shoes and go outside. Like, it doesn't see that. It is using your past experiences. So, you know, if you made the healthy meal and you ate it, and then, you know, you went for a run, but you didn't look like a supermodel immediately after, it's using that against you, that's not how your body works usually. I say usually because I don't want to limit your possibilities, but that's kind of what your brain is using. It's like, oh, well, you did that once and you didn't get the payoff that you wanted immediately. It also uses your current state to make those predictions. So if you are feeling, you know, energized, amped up, maybe you feel that way in the morning, that's usually when I feel the best, or, you know, maybe you feel super great after a workout, you know, you're gonna feel like you're able to do a lot more than you do if you're tired or if you've been working all day. And then also it uses emotional associations. So if you are I keep going back to the gym because that's kind of a big thing for me right now. But let's say you've gone to the gym before and you've had some bad experiences, like you felt uncomfortable, you felt like you didn't belong, maybe you were comparing yourself to other people. So now when you're trying to get ready to go to the gym, your brain is using that, and it's saying like, if you go there, you're gonna feel like this. You're gonna feel ashamed, you're gonna feel like you don't belong. And it's gonna use that to try to protect you from feeling that way again. So it's gonna tell you it's not worth it. And the key thing is that the prediction usually feels very true. Sometimes it might be pretty accurate depending on, what your brain's using at that time. But it's usually not right. It's usually just meant to preserve your energy. And kind of going along with preserving your energy, one of the things that really hit me hard yesterday was, I had kind of worked out a lot more than I usually did. I went for a run, I went for a couple walks, and I had no idea that I spent this long working on it, but I spent, 5 or 6 hours doing like deep creative work, kind of processing, working on some projects that I've been really passionate about. Like, I had no idea I spent that much time on them. And it really hit me as soon as I stopped working on them. So your capacity that your nervous system is in, which fluctuates throughout the day, there's a whole lot of stuff that goes into that, so I'll share a bit more about that in another time. But when you're in a lower capacity, everything feels like it takes way more effort, because you have a limited supply. Your brain is fighting really, really hard to preserve it. And even with me studying the nervous system, trying to understand my capacity, there was this missing piece up until I had this realization, and it really got me yesterday evening. I felt like my nervous system had become more regulated. So I felt a lot better most of the time. There's still some things, sometimes when it fluctuates, kind of dips a little bit, but that is life. That's part of being regulated, is being able to move through those states instead of getting stuck in one of them. And I just didn't understand why I'm still having these moments when I can't do the thing that I want to do. Like, I felt unmotivated, kind of undisciplined, even, just calling myself lazy, which is not fair. It's kind of like, I didn't feel like I was back in survival mode, but I wasn't firing on all cylinders. Like, the energy wasn't there. It just wasn't how I'd been feeling for the most part. And so, I realized when your system is, when you're mentally fatigued, when you're underfueled, or you're overloaded, just trying to take on too many things, thinking about too many things, everything costs more. Like I said, because you have less capacity, less energy, so your brain's fighting really hard to hang on to it. And I experienced that myself last night, actually, after, I said I worked out quite a bit. I was doing a lot of mental work, using a lot of energy, and I didn't even realize it. And I had decided I was gonna have fish taco bowls. And kind of knowing myself, I had made it the simplest recipe that I could make it because, I do meal prepping so that I don't have to cook 3 times a day. But even then, like, there's some things you still have to cook kind of throughout the week, or they go bad, like fish, eggs, like, don't last very long. And I had made this as simple as I could make it, so that when I felt like garbage, or when I just felt really, really low, that I would still make it. And yesterday, it just was still too much. All I needed to do was pour this pre-mixed taco seasoning on this fish, throw it in the air fryer, make some coleslaw, and then put it all together, and that was it. Like, it's literally so easy, so simple. But I had surpassed my capacity without knowing it. So as soon as I shut my laptop, it was like I was brain dead. Like, even just those few steps of putting the seasoning on the fish, putting it in the air fryer, mixing some, cabbage, mayo, lime, just mixing a few things in a bowl was way too much. And I ended up going for the junk food because I needed that quick energy. I didn't have it in me to do those like 3-4 super simple steps because I had just blown right through my capacity for the day. And so that was something that really helped me, because in those moments I was still beating myself up. I didn't understand, if my nervous system's doing better, why am I still not able to cook the food sometimes? Why am I still struggling with these simple things? Like, sometimes I would get mad at Nike because they say, just do it. And I'm like, well, I can't. And I didn't understand why. I didn't realize that I had, on those moments, like, I had just completely used my capacity for the day. And, it's really important to keep fueling yourself regularly so that you don't surpass your capacity. And then kind of, I've hinted at it a little bit. Your brain doesn't like uncertainty, especially uncertain rewards. So, if the outcome is delayed, unclear, intangible, like you can't just hold it in your hand, your brain thinks that we're spending all this energy for nothing. And that's kind of where, going to the gym, the healthy foods, even creating content comes in, is because, it's not, usually you don't work out once and then you have rippling abs. You don't eat the salad once and suddenly, like, your health is amazing. You don't film one video and now suddenly you're a YouTuber and you have all this money and all these people following you. Like, it takes some time. And your brain doesn't like that. It doesn't like not knowing when, or even if it is gonna happen. So that's part of the reason why it makes you think it's gonna be a lot more effort, and it makes you feel less motivated and really creates that resistance because it doesn't believe in the payoff. And it just wants you to kind of do the same old things because those are predictable. It knows what's coming from those, and it just keeps that energy, because you have that set path. So it's a lot easier to, walk the paved path than trying to go through the forest and create a new path. So it's really just trying to balance, the effort's immediate, but the reward's delayed. And if your capacity is low or you're feeling stressed out, like, your brain really does not like the fact that, the reward is delayed or unclear. And then I've hinted at this kind of throughout, like, your brain's doing this for protection. It's not trying to sabotage you. It's kind of a prediction error, is the way to look at it. It wants to keep you from wasting energy. It doesn't want you disappointed. It doesn't want you taking risk, because it can't predict what's gonna happen if you try something new. And it just overestimates the cost of it, the energy, the effort that's gonna happen. And then in this instance, it underestimates your capacity. So, maybe you can put on the running shoes and go for a run. Maybe you actually can cook that meal for yourself, but your brain is not wanting it to happen because it really does believe that it's going to take all of your effort, and it makes you feel like you can do less than you actually can. And so that's like a big part of this effort I almost said discontinuing, effort discounting. And so, you know, I kind of have been laughing at myself through this video, and I'll share one more story with you guys, and it's about this video actually. So I was so excited to share this this insight with you guys because, like I said, it really helped me to stop thinking that I'm lazy. It helped me understand my brain a bit more, and, you know, really deepen my knowledge of like how your nervous system capacity works, and kind of determines what you can do throughout the day or what you feel like you can do throughout the day. And I had bought this little mount that has, it's supposed to hold my phone for me. It has a little light, like I felt real official YouTuber. This was great because from my first video, the first thing I learned was hold your phone sideways. And so I got this mount so that I could do that. And then, you know, my hands are free, so I can talk with my hands a little bit more. And then I go to film this video today, and I realized the little phone holder spot on this mount isn't meant to hold your phone. Like, it only pulled out like this much, and it's actually meant for a pop socket. So if you have a pop socket, it'll hold it like that. But I don't have one of those, and I have like this wonky phone case that I have to remove if you're gonna see me clearly or hear me okay, because it just messes with the camera and the audio. So every phone call I have to take the case off. So the other option was to put a magnet on the back of my phone, and it's made for that, but I just really didn't feel comfortable having the magnet on my phone, especially because sometimes I set my phone on my laptop, and I just have memories of like what happens when you have a magnet near a computer screen. So I just kind of stitching myself in here since I kind of lost my track when my phone stopped recording and I had to go delete a bunch of stuff. The whole point of that stupid magnet was that I came home, I was like, I'm just gonna do it, and I got everything set up, and right as I was about to press record, my phone fell off the magnet with no case onto my laptop, and my whole screen turned this like yellow color, and I thought that was it. Yeah, so that is why you've got this shaky bumpy video where I'm still holding the camera upright. We'll get it fixed, but that's where I was going with this bumpy ride with the whole stupid magnet and kind of the effort discounting that almost prevented this video. So okay, I am back. So it just really makes me think about my mentor who always says disruption follows intention. So my video cut off because I ran out of storage, so we're gonna have to stitch this part to part one, make it one kind of video. So it's definitely a learning process. I had left off, you know, talking about this freaking magnet on the phone. So I went to a couple stores and nobody has a phone case for my phone because it's, you know, a couple models older. The only ones they had were like the iPhone 17s, which are the size of my head. I don't want a phone the size of my head. Like, that won't even fit in my Kim Possible pants pockets, you know, like they're the olive green cargo, like it won't even fit in those pockets. So what am I supposed to do with this giant brick of a phone? So I'm derailing a little bit because, like I said, it has been a morning. It has definitely been a learning process. So yeah, we've got lots and lots of examples of disruption following intention, which is something a little bit different, and also effort discounting. So, you know, this is all great to know. Maybe you're not lazy, maybe you're just in a low capacity state, or maybe sometimes you accidentally blow right through your capacity or right past it, like me. I don't mean to do that, it just happens, and then I definitely feel the effects. So, you know, what are you supposed to do with this new cool thing that you know, effort discounting? You could use it as an excuse. You could play the blame game, kind of play the victim of your nervous system. You know, oh, I was in a low capacity state, or I used all my capacity for the day. Sorry. Or you could lower the bar for entry, which this video is doing. You can simplify the process as much as possible. And yeah, that didn't work for me yesterday with my fish taco bowls, but like I said, like I had completely blown past my capacity. Like I had used probably way more energy than I actually had. So my brain, my body just needed that quick energy of, you know, carbs, salt, kind of fatty foods. But that has helped me, you know, with my meal prepping, with eating the healthier foods, like 10 times more than just that one night where it didn't. Because, you know, it's usually, I've simplified it, it's there, it's done, we got it. And then another reason, can't sit like that apparently. Another example of effort discounting and lowering the bar for entry is this video right here. You know, I've kind of shared all the hurdles I've gone through this morning just to film this video. And, you know, when I was starting out, I thought that, you know, like, I have to be perfect. Makeup has to be perfect. Hair has to be perfect, which I don't know if you can tell. It does what it does. It doesn't care what I want. You know, I thought my wardrobe had to be perfect. The background had to be perfect. Like, I'm very big with aesthetics. Like, everything has to match for me. And I felt that I needed to have, like, a Fortune 500 brand starting out sitting on the floor in my living room. You know, I felt like I had to sound super calm and collected and basically like a wise old granny. I thought that I needed to sound, I'm trying to sit that way again, that's what that face was about. I thought that I needed to seem super intelligent, like I knew everything about the nervous system, which I don't think anybody alive does. You know, I felt like I needed to know every little detail, every question I could possibly be asked. And you know, that same neuroscientist, that podcast I was listening to, that kind of started all of this, this realization, this insight, she told me about effort discounting. And, you know, that's the very reason I'm here right now, sharing this insight, sharing my experiences, being weird and unprofessional and I don't know, whatever else you could call it. Like, she kind of inspired me to really lower the bar for getting this content made, because one of the things is she always shows up in athletic apparel. Every podcast, every video, she's always in like athletic apparel, athleisure. She's not glammed up, dolled up, or if you're a guy, what is it, like decked out, dripping. I don't really keep up with the slang. I really don't know what people are talking about around me half the time. But she wasn't in a blazer. She wasn't this business executive, this, you know, she has a master's, she's working on her PhD, but she doesn't have like, you know, the air that they have. She wasn't in a ball gown. Like, she showed up in what's comfortable for her, and she's doing the darn thing. Like, she is pretty successful with her content, with her business, with sharing, you know, neuroscience, and she's doing all this in athletic apparel, like just a simple shirt and some leggings. And, you know, after seeing her do this and hearing her talk about needing to lower the bar, you know, I had all these insights, all these ideas that I really wanted to share. And instead of trying to force myself into a super academic role, into this super polished role, you know, trying to act like I know it all or thinking I needed to know it all, I realized I can just share what I'm learning, where I'm at right now. I can just take you along the journey, even though it's been a very bumpy one today. So, you know, that's kind of where this video is kind of a mess. It's kind of a mess. But, you know, it's made. It's done. If I had tried to make it perfect, I'd still be trying to fix my hair. I would probably be driving around the state trying to find that freaking phone case. And in all honesty, I don't think I even would have had the idea to share this, because I haven't studied it for years. It's not like I'm like a super expert. I just learned about something one day and it made so many experiences make sense, and I've experienced it to like 100% today, just trying to get this video done. And so yeah, we lowered the bar. We're doing the darn thing. We're learning along the way, and I'm really excited to actually share what I know, to kind of share a little bit of my personality, which I'm sure did not come across in the first video that I made. But yeah, your brain kind of sets the difficulty level. So if things seem to always be harder than they need to be, or if things always feel like they're too much effort, or maybe not always, but like something that you feel like everyone else does just fine, and you're like, that's gonna be a lot of effort. Like sometimes brushing your teeth, you're like, do I really? If you're tired of beating yourself up, like thinking that you're lazy because you can't just get up and do it, or like you have to kind of try to motivate yourself to do simple or basic tasks, you know, maybe you're not lazy. Maybe your brain is effort discounting, and maybe you just need to lower the bar for entry. Like this very entry level video that I'm making and sharing with you guys today. So just kind of keep that in mind, that, you know, maybe you're not lazy. Maybe it's your brain. I'll see you all next time.